Right now, you think that traffic in Fort Lee last August was slow? Well, the investigation into that jam may move even slower for one Governor Chris Christie. New subpoenas out today as the biggest paper in the Garden State essentially takes back its endorsement. And then he's a college football standout, just about the lock here to be drafted in the upcoming NFL draft, and he is gay. Analysis from a captain of the New York Football Giants and a local basketball coach who he himself came out to his team. But all they wanted to focus on was sports. And later, maybe the biggest shot in the arm for Bill de Blasio and his tax hike for universal pre-K. As his honor sells his plan during his State of the City, a key Albany player says it's either the mayor's way or the highway. Details and analysis straight ahead. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us this Monday evening, February 10th. Now, new subpoenas are out today in the Chris Christie Bridgegate mess. Investigative committee looking into that and other allegations against the governor and his staff, expanding their investigations after meeting in Trenton today. Now, this is the second round of subpoenas from the state lawmakers. The first round, as you knew, due back late last week, though two Christie staffers, the key ones, refused to cooperate, citing their Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. So today, the committee, they took further action against those two staffers, Bridgegate and Bill Stepien, issuing 6 motions designed to enforce the original subpoenas. Christie, as you may remember, famously firing Kelly on live TV after documents revealed that she had ordered the lane closures in Fort Lee. The governor also cut ties with Stepien, his longtime advisor, for his involvement in the mess. Now, that is not the only headache for the governor tonight. The other is yet another PR disaster for the man who once could do no wrong when it came to the press. Now, remember back to last October? Well, the Star-Ledger, most read, arguably the most powerful paper in the state, endorsed Christie for re-election. They had doubts, they admitted, but they also called Christie the most remarkable political talent America has seen since Bill Clinton. Today, not so much. That is the paper's editorial page editor essentially took it all back, writing, quote, "Yes, we blew this one. We knew Christie was a bully, but we didn't know his crew was crazy enough to put people's lives at risk in Fort Lee as a means to pressure the mayor." They went on to say, "We didn't know that he would use Hurricane Sandy aid as a political slush fund, and we certainly didn't know that the Hoboken mayor, Don Zimmer, was sitting on a credible charge of extortion by Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno." Now, though interestingly, the editor, Tom Moran, did open the door to the potential possibility that they'd endorse Christie again someday, like maybe even in 2016, making the point, if the Republican primary came to a choice between Rand Paul and Christie, which candidate would you endorse? At the risk of repeating a mistake, I'd pick Christie in that primary even now, and if you think that makes some sense, then you understand how excruciating the endorsement process can be. All right. For more on that and more on what came out today, let's bring in our panel, a group that never needs to take it back. Jeannie Zaino, professor of political science at Illinois College and professor of campaign management at NYU. Dominic Carter, of course, as always, political journalist and author. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. And guys, this all comes as more and more drips and drabs, including a curious alleged helicopter ride between the governor and then one of the major principals in this one as well here, flying over the mess. That unsubstantiated, but a few folks reporting about the possibility of it. How big, if anybody thought that the press conference and some of the bad PR, but at least the punctuation point that Chris Christie said, "I didn't know, my guys let me down," was the end of it. They just had to, just take a look at Trenton and read the paper today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to put this in perspective. The Star-Ledger is not the biggest fan of Chris Christie going back, so the fact that they're taking back the endorsement is not as big of a deal as I think we've been led to believe, although it is unprecedented. They have said in their history that they've endorsed and then taken that endorsement back. I think what's more interesting here are the number of subpoenas that you talked about that are going out and the strengthening of those subpoenas against Kelly and Stepien, but also I go back to what the federal government is doing, the federal prosecutor. That's where Christie is really potentially going to get hurt, is those federal prosecutor. And then his role in terms of the governor's Governors Association. Now we are hearing that the governors, or potential candidates for governor in Illinois, where he's supposed to be out there this weekend at the RJ meeting, are not going to be stepping out with him. That's a bad sign. I mean, my feeling is, and you say I never take things back, I may take this one back, I'm thinking that he may need to resign his post as the chair of that organization. I don't see how he helps.
RJ, which is
the Republican Governors Association, not governor.
Which a lot of people thought was a phenomenal post for a launching pad to 2016.
How can Republicans look at him as leading the charge in terms of getting these people elected when they won't even show up in an event with him?
Well, Dominic, it all speaks to what I think came out of today, and obviously subpoenas be significant, and they really are going after Bridgegate and Bill Stepien, but it comes down to benefit of the doubt. It's funny, the RGA, if the Times yells at you and doesn't like you and you're a Republican, that's a badge of courage. I mean, CPAC didn't even have him last year, they had him this year. But all of a sudden, when you read what the Ledger had to say, it was clear. No longer do they say, you know what, it's just an angry mayor in Hoboken, or, you know what, it's just some whiny mayor, that's in Fort Lee, or, you know what, it probably did stop at the desk of, one of his other staffers. Everybody's loaded for bear on him. Nobody's given him the benefit of the doubt. They called the allegations of Zimmer credible against Guadagno. They didn't need to go there. They talked about the idea, and I saw an interview also with the managing editor of the paper, that it stopped at Bridget desk. Ludicrous here. Nobody is giving Christie a pass on anything, and they're not waiting to see how this all plays out. It's almost that he's guilty till proven innocent, depending on how this process goes. That's never good if you're a chief executive of the state.
And that's why I predict that not only will he have to step down as the head of the Republican Governors Association, I really believe that this governor may not finish his term. I really believe that. Forget 2016. That's off the table. If they don't want you campaigning the other candidates around the country now, how are you going to be the nominee for president in just a short time? It's funny, Richard, because it's the standard operating procedure of a bully. Everyone is afraid of a bully, including the Star Ledger, which it doesn't pass the smell test to me of what they're doing.
Yeah.
We endorse you, Governor, when you're big and strong, and everybody's afraid of you. And now that folks are not afraid of you anymore, we're going to take it back. But anyway, with a bully, nobody wants to stand up to the bully. And then when people realize that there's a chink in the armor, then everyone is willing to jump on. That's what's happening now. But I do want to go on record in saying, if they can place the governor in a helicopter observing the traffic, that's the smoking gun. Goodbye, Governor Christie.
I don't understand. I keep thinking about that press conference, the 2-hour press conference that Christie gave, where he really was as absolutely firm as you could possibly be that I didn't know anything, and this is as far as it goes. If he suspected that there was any more there, why did he do that?
What else could you do?
You keep quiet.
You hope that your aides do what they always do. They fall on the knife for you.
But Dom, I'll answer your question. What other choice? To Andrew's point, there was nuances. He's already done one nuance. Remember how it was? The first I ever heard of it was on that media when there was when the media broke that story or whatever, right? Now all of a sudden, he's claiming he wasn't involved in the planning of it at all.
Right.
So the implication is, well, maybe not 3 months later. Maybe I did hear about something in August or September, whatever. And then after it happened, but I didn't have my fingerprints in the planning. It's a distinction with a difference. To your point, though, and I think you're right, he didn't have to be as absolute about everything. Now, I don't think he's going to plan this thing.
That's his style,
but he is extremely smart. He's a former prosecutor.
But who says he's so smart? Who says he's so smart?
Even if he wasn't in the helicopter.
I give him credit. He was elected in a blue state. Who says he's so smart?
But to answer Andrew's question, this is classic in these crises. People come out because they're under pressure. As Dominic said, what else could he do? They are adamant, but he chose his words carefully, as he would in a lawyerly fashion. He was adamant because the idea is once this settles down, once the media kind of backs off this, once people start focusing on other things, you'll be able to slowly
maneuver.
maneuver.
What's the first rhyme in this? The first rule is it's not the crime, it's the cover-up.
But we saw Bill Clinton did the same thing successfully with Monica Lewinsky. Lewinsky. It's been done successfully.
But that's about sex.
And when
this is now about public safety.
No, that was about lying under oath. That wasn't about sex.
But you know what?
That was about lying under oath.
But the general public, it was about sex.
No, it was about lying under oath.
Gina,
I disagree.
It didn't impact people's lives.
Yeah.
What happened in Fort Lee did impact people's lives. And the thing for the governor now is, even if there's no smoking gun, even if he's not on that helicopter, he could still be forced out of office just for lying to the people of New Jersey.
I absolutely agree with you, and it's serious. But let's not forget how serious the Monica Lewinsky thing. A president lying under oath is a serious
but
thing.
the point is,
a president having sex with an intern is a serious thing.
But the only reason I win this argument is
because it's your
in
show.
the end of the day, no. In the end of the day, he kept his job. Because enough people thought the other side was overplaying it. Name one Republican who's going to the wall for Christie today, locally or nationally. Democrats hated that Republicans were being hypocritical on the sex thing, and they thought they were making it about sex, whether it was fair or not. Nobody's standing up for Christie because they don't know what other shoes are going to drop
Well, I agree with you. And another reason nobody's standing up for Christie is nobody likes Christie in the Republican Party. I mean, look at what's being said by people like Ted Cruz. He was not widely liked in the Republican Party.
Right.
Bill Clinton was.
Now, remember, everybody, we're going to be talking a lot more about this, and I'm going to have a ringside seat. Later this week here, I will be doing the annual trip down to New Jersey, where I will be joined by just about every lawmaker in the Garden State in the annual Walk to Washington. We'll be sitting down, and trust me, the conversations will be centering on what is or isn't going on in Trenton right now related to this. Again, that's going to be all day on Thursday. Okay, we switch gears after this. We all know the story by now of Michael Sam courageously coming out here before the NFL draft, but what is the perception going to be within an NFL locker room? Will there be second thoughts about drafting this player for what may or may not come along with that in terms of the scrutiny? And how will the team, let alone his players, react when he puts on the jersey for the first time? We're going to be into all that and much more after this break. Steve Diassi from the New York Giants will join us live. Stay with us.